Let's do it. Got to start with the Cavaliers, right?
Let's get started with the Cavaliers. Of course, our first segment of the day is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if they win. The FanDuel Sports app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. Fellas, the Cavs was right back at it after 3 days off, man. Donovan Mitchell, Jerome, 26 points apiece. Jarrett Allen poured in another 23. All 5 starters scored or double figures. Smashed the Toronto Raptors, man. How do you all feel about it this morning?
I was looking at, now that we're off the winning streak, I was looking at best record.
No, we're on a winning streak.
Well, no, I mean, start the season. I was looking at best records ever through 20 games. I know they haven't played 20 games yet.
Yeah.
And there have been 4 teams in the history of the NBA that have gone 19-1 and better. Obviously, 19-1 is the best the Cavs can do. Of those 4 teams that have gone 19-1, one, of course, is the Warriors, who lost the championship. 2 of the other 3 won their championships, and the 4th one was Portland. I don't remember what year it was. They lost in the conference finals. Okay. So 3 of the 4 got to the championship. 2 won a championship. If you look at first 25 games and whatever, and maybe the Cavs will slow up this stretch, but like right now, the start they're off to is historic levels. Hopefully that continues, and it's mostly with teams that either at least got to the finals. Obviously at some point you're going to have to deal with Boston and whatever, but like when the Cavs take the floor against the Toronto Raptors like they did last night, the game felt over at the end of the first quarter.
It was never in doubt.
Right?
It was never in doubt.
Right. Like the Raptors made some runs to make it look like a reasonable score.
They got to 6, I think, or
and by the way, what's his name? Who's in the picture right there? Just forgot his name.
I didn't see the picture.
I didn't either.
Niang. He couldn't have. That guy. What was he? 0 for 13 from the field. But everybody else played great.
He has days like that.
Yeah, he was terrible. Everybody else played great, but. Man, I mean, they are a team now that, like, if you're bad, they're wiping the floor with you. Yeah. You got no shot. Toronto's terrible.
We need a nickname for Jerome. Someone's got to come up with something.
Right. We're gonna just his nickname is good. Like he's good all of a sudden.
That's understated. He's better than good.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, man.
I know the biggest story in the league.
I said, he's David Fry.
Yeah.
But the more I see, the more I'm like, wow, this skill set is real. I mean, he can do this, and when given a start and given a lot of minutes, no one has figured out what the answer to him is.
Last 4 games where he's played like significant minutes, he's averaging 22 and 5 assists in the last 4 games.
See, this is Bull's comment. He's right. This is one of the greatest stats of all time. This is actually a law. It's like Maslow's theory of hierarchy here. Either if you're a white guy and you play, you're either over or underestimated or underestimated.
Right.
And because Jerome is a white dude, people are like, oh, this is a nice story. We can only compare him to other white guys.
Right.
You're like,
isn't that funny how people do
that?
Like,
nah, bro. Like this 22 and 5 is not regular. Like he's just not like he's shooting threes. Like we think, oh, okay, well he's gonna be a Kerr or John Paxson. No.
Right.
He's getting to the rack. He's playing defense.
His ability to steal the ball in big situations is unreal.
He had 4 steals yesterday and a block shot. Guys, he's shooting almost 60% from the field.
That part of it I don't think can continue.
But still, we're almost a quarter of the way into the season.
I know.
He's shooting 60%.
Jay, there's got to be a fly in this ointment. What is it?
To Ty or to the team?
To Ty specifically.
I just think he's playing the best basketball. Like he's playing better than he did in college. He shot 40% from 3 his senior year in college, average, I think, I just looked it up earlier, about 14 points when Virginia won the national championship. He's playing better now than he did his his last year of college. Who does that? Like, who gets better in the pros? Normally, for a guy like that, normally your best year is in college, and then you sort of fill in as a role player in the NBA. I think he's being used exceptionally well. I think that's a perfect role for him. I've seen some stuff about would you start him. I would not. I wouldn't start him. I'd leave
No,
him.
I agree with you.
I agree.
Exactly.
Keep him in the role he's in.
Keep him doing exactly what
It's a
he's doing.
huge role that he's playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you don't have to be a starter to make a major impact.
Right.
In fact, most of your great championship teams, and we talked about this, I brought this up on Friday, and I said, I think this team is deeper than the 16 championship team.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
eyebrows were raised, and we're going to discuss it later in today's show. I'm not saying they're better.
No.
I'm just saying, and maybe not even 6, 7, but like 7, 8, 9, 10 on this team is incredible. And every team that wins a championship, Jason, you know this, you better have some skilled guys that you can bring in that are 7 and 8.
Yes.
Because you're going to need them in certain matchups in certain series. And this team has depth to spare.
You need a guy, Dante Jones. I've used this example before. You need a guy, and by the way, Ty Jerome, what he's doing is on a much higher level than what Dante provided the Cavs. But I'm just using Dante because
He's a good example. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it falls in line with what you're talking about. They needed like I forget which game it was in the finals. They needed like a 3-minute stretch out of him in the second quarter. I think it was the second quarter against the Warriors. It was a home game, I think, if my memory's shot now. And like rebound, foul, basket. Like he just made a couple of really big plays in a moment when they really, really needed him. And and Dante was probably number 9, 10 on that rotation sheet. But he was a veteran who gave them exactly what they needed in that moment. Ty certainly could do that based on what we've seen to this point. And frankly more. Like I'm fascinated to see, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but like when you're the deeper you go traditionally, it doesn't have to be this way, but traditionally with teams, the deeper you go, the more you cut your rotation. So that by the time you get to the finals, you're playing like 8 guys and you're trusting 7.
And that's usually out of necessity.
Well, you want your best guys on the floor.
But if you trust 7, 8, 9 and you get in a series, what an advantage it is that you can give 2 or 3 of your starters a break while the other team's starters are grinding.
Yeah.
That's what makes the fourth quarter, that now in the fourth quarter, when they're on 10 minutes rest and the other team's starting lineup is on 6 minutes rest, you should have an advantage.
And it's not even, yes, but it's also game 5, game 6.
Sure. Attrition.
It's 100%. Yeah. When I remember when the Cavs won the championship, and I talked to Griff about it afterwards, and he said it is a war of attrition. And Draymond gets suspended, Cavs win game 5, they're able to extend the series, and then Bogut gets hurt. And it just changed the whole complexion, the whole dynamic of that series. And the deeper you go, the more tired these guys get, and it absolutely is a war of attrition. So, yeah, of course it's the Cavs' advantage to be deeper. That's why I'm saying, I'm not saying Kenny has to only play 8 guys if they get to the conference finals, but that's typically how teams have run this in the past because you want Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell on the floor and Darius Garland on the floor for 40 minutes a night, 39, 40 minutes a night when you get to that point. And so it just doesn't leave a lot of minutes for everybody else.
It's going to get to a point. Stay 17-1, and this is going to happen. Yeah, they could beat them other teams, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the start, but people are going to start eyeing in on this matchup. They're going to say, listen, all right, that's great against everybody else, but as you know, Jason, the league is about matchups. And how do you match up against the Celtics, right? Like, how do you stop, what they're doing, and do you have a problem with your lineup? Now, Ty Jerome is a big part of it because he has to in my opinion, when they bring Pritchard off the bench, he has to keep up with him. He has to have a game if Pritchard has a game, right? The Al Horford piece or part, Evan Mobley has to outplay Al Horford at all times. It can't be even.
Well, the thing that's going to not mess with them, but the big wrinkle that we still haven't seen because you saw it last year is the Porzingis piece.
Yep.
And how he changes them because he's going to make them even more difficult.
Yet?
No.
Close.
They're playing Sunday, obviously, here in Cleveland.
I know he's close. I don't know if they've actually said
I don't think he's played.
what day it is, but
when he comes back, it will add a whole different element to them
That's
that we haven't
5 out.
seen.
That's 5 out. You
Earl
can
has a
play
point
Go ahead,
about
Earl.
this.
So a couple things on Ty Jerome. Me and G did a barbershop Saturday, and we got a chance to talk to Ethan Sands, who covers the Cavs for Cleveland.com. And he talked about how he was coveted he being Ty Jerome by the Cavs, and he was somebody that, Kobe Altman wanted to draft. And so getting him to Cleveland seems like it's been a long time coming and was always in the plans. And 4 games against the Cavs in his career, he averaged 14.5 points. And, the talk has been, well, how the hell did you pick Ty Jerome out of a hat? I seen him play January 20th against the Cavs. He scored 22 points. He started over Steph Curry. Now, lately, I've spent as much or more time with Mike than anybody that's in this room. And so, naturally, I'm asking questions, I'm watching more, and I'm understanding more. When you see a dude that's 6'5", that's a pure point guard, that can shoot, that can play defense, that can facilitate, and seems to be the battery pack of this entire team, it's like this is a guy that you got to make sure that's in the folds going forward.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he was healthy last year, what difference it would have made in that season.
No.
It's a good question, but to me, the reason the Cavs look completely different, it's 2 parts. It's A, it's Ty Jerome, but B, it's that Evan Mobley is a completely different player this year.
It starts with Evan Mobley,
Those
too.
are the 2 big storylines.
Evan Mobley is bigger.
I mean, Evan Mobley, there was a play last night in, I want to say the second quarter, where Evan Mobley just he took the basket, he took the basketball and the inbounds pass from behind, their own, and took it down the court. And he ended up not scoring. But he just went coast to coast on his own and just aggressively went to the basket.
Right.
And then there was another play later in that second quarter, if you guys remember, where he missed a few shots in a row. He kept getting the rebound, and eventually he got fouled. We didn't see those type of things from him in the past. And we've been waiting for this huge leap. And we thought, offensively, his game, it didn't go slowly up. His offensive game went boom.
Yeah, there was an epiphany.
Yeah,
A light went off.
and he is a completely different guy right now.
He is.
And between that and Ty Jerome going from a 0 to maybe the 6th man of the year competition.
Sure.
Those are the 2 biggest differences.
Those are.
Yes, Darius has bounced back too, but
That's
we knew he
huge, too.
could, and that's big too. But he's been an all-star in the past.
Right.
Jarrett Allen is what he is. We know what Donovan Mitchell is. But those 2 guys playing like this make them a legit championship contender.
They got the Celtics coming up, and I think this Celtics game is bigger than the first Celtics game because you want to. I saw what Jason Tatum said after the game, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are in the mindset that the way LeBron used to do them.
Yeah.
Where it's oh, y'all having a good season. That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Shut up. We've been here.
They have every right to feel that way.
That's the way they feel.
Yeah.
And for the Cavs to be on the radar, they got to say, okay, you got us in y'all's home court. Guess what? We got you here, and now we're going to show you what it looked like.
Yeah.
So now I think if they can come back and get a win, it solidifies the fact that, hey, these 2 teams are even. These 2 teams go back and forth all that matters. Night in, night out, you can win one game, we can come back and win another one. So I'm interested, and I think Darius Garland got to have a bounce-back game. Big bounce-back game. He was rough the first game.
Can't be 3 of 21.
Yeah, I think he need to be aggressive, and I think the Cavs, this is very important for not only them, but to show everybody else, hey, look, this is not a fluke. We could beat Boston, and it'll invigorate them and understand, hey, we wait until the offseason, and we wait until the postseason to get Boston again. Because I think it's wide open in the NBA. If the Cavs can beat the Boston Celtics, it could be a situation where you say, that was the toughest matchup they're going to see. You look at the rest of the teams like Philadelphia and New York. New York might be 1 year away.
Philly's a mess.
Philly's a mess. So in the East, if you can get past Boston,
That's it.
Right.
you got a shot.
The Knicks are pretty good, and Orlando, credit to them, they have the 3rd best record in the East with no Banchero.
Orlando's legit.
They've won 8 of their last 9 games.
They play hard every night.
I was so impressed with them last year in that playoff
Jay,
series.
are you surprised? One of the things that I am at the season, they haven't played a clunker yet.
Yeah.
No.
They've had guys that individually have had all five,
honestly,
but they have not played a clunker yet. And
honestly,
to be 20 games in, that's odd.
Their clunker was Boston. Mm-hmm. That was really
because of
they
Garland,
couldn't make a shot.
Really,
they just didn't look like the same team in that.
They
game.
were struggling to make shots.
But that's not a true. I mean, if you lose to the defending champs by 3, I don't even know you call that a clunker.
But that's what I'm saying.
But that's been their low point.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is that night where you just throw your hands up in the air and halfway through the 3rd quarter, kind of like the Lakers played against us when they were
right.
here. It's like, okay,
but again,
not our night.
That was Boston. They were down double figures.
Yeah.
And then just like that,
they were back in it.
Yeah, and they were struggling to make shots. Boston couldn't miss. They were struggling to get to their shooters and run them off the line. The way that Boston was defending them just sort of slowed the ball movement down. So to me, that was their clunker, and they lost by 3 on the road to the defending champs.
Yeah. If that's what a clunker looks like.
The thing that I don't get, I don't understand where this is coming from. All this talk of like, oh, they're the Hawks. They're the Hawks from a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't buy
that 2016.
Where is that coming from?
I don't know.
Because I'm not hearing it.
Oh, God, I saw it all, especially after they lost to Boston. It was like, see, I told you. We had it on the, like, the commenters on The Athletic were saying it, and it's just sort of been the talk on social media.
Is that just fans?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't, Jay, but I think those are people that are just looking at scores. They're not watching the game.
It's nonsensical.
It is nonsensical.
Well, the Cavs aren't on TV very much. So they're not on national TV.
Right.
And so
the Celtics game was the only time, and they didn't look great in that game.
So when you get people who only see the Lakers or only see other teams that are bigger cities, you look at their roster. And by the way, Donovan Mitchell is a superstar, but he's outside of that top tier, and he's played in Utah and Cleveland. So how often have you seen a Donovan Mitchell, right?
Right.
So,
I'm cool with that. Let him sit under the
radar.
fine.
That's fine.
I don't think they're under the radar in the league.
No, they're not.
No, I think they might be to a section of fans that just look at box scores.
Right. Yeah,
and then they watch the one game they watched, and they're like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Because they played the Celtics, and it was their bad night. But sleep on this team at your own peril.
Yeah.
Because they are what their record says they are, and that's not a fluke. Now, I did look yesterday. I didn't do the math on it, but they have played an easy schedule. It's been relatively easy.
But, I mean, they have played good teams.
They have. They played Milwaukee a couple of times, I think.
Golden State,
Golden State, Lakers. But that's pretty much
Celtics,
everything.
Boston.
Now, you know what? The East looks odd this year. When you look at the standings in the East, like,
well,
it's not a typical East year.
Right, but they beat Orlando. Now, you could say they beat them without Banchero, but they've played great without Banchero.
Yeah, but I asterisked that because it was without Banchero. And by the way, Orlando played very hard that night.
Right, but they've won 8 of their last 9 without him.
I know they have.
So, they beat the Knicks, who have the third best record, or fourth best record in the East.
They're only. You said they haven't played anyone, or they had played a weak schedule.
Yeah, I would say that their schedule is, it feels to me, I don't know if there's a metric that tells you what it is, but now that we have almost a quarter of the season under our belt, it feels to me like they've played a lot of teams that are under 500.
But again, part of it is this is the new NBA where there's not the big bad wolf.
Teams,
there's the team in the West that I think is the best team is the Thunder. Because they're very much like the Cavs. No one ever watches the Thunder.
Right.
No one knows anything about it.
They don't know.
But they're tied with Golden State for the best record in the West.
Yeah,
right now.
but they're really long. They're really athletic. They're a really, really good team, and that's why I was joking with Mike before. Like, NBA office is going to burn itself down when it's a Cavs Thunder finals for the next 3 years.
No, you aren't kidding.
They're going to lose their minds.
Yeah, let's go back to that old plan.
Yeah.
They're playing the Cavs play the Hawks twice this week, home and home, and then it'll be like Sunday they play Boston, and then next Wednesday they play Denver. Both those games are at home. Denver's obviously really good.
Denver's kind of they've got some issues.
Right, but they still got the best player in the league.
They have the best player in the league.
So it'll be interesting to see how Mobley plays against him.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's as tough as it gets. So I'm looking forward to those games. But
that's what Jarrett Allen's
you guys
for.
know how I've been about the regular season NBA. I've had no interest. And I thought when they lost the winning streak that my interest would wane. But even though they've played 2 awful teams their last 2 games in Charlotte and Toronto, I've still been interested and kind of excited watching the games.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
And their ratings are up through the roof.
A couple things before we move on. I have a question and then a few comments. The question being, I know, Jay, you said the schedule has not been that strong.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I think the Eastern Conference has underperformed. At one point, it was just the Cavs and Boston with a winning record. Right now, you have 5 teams in the East at 500 or better. But
which
Jason,
is low.
If I'm wrong.
That's low.
Yeah, it is. This 3-day stretch that they had off, this is their longest stretch off to at any point this season, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So they played a lot of games.
No, to this point.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said, yeah.
Like, so the quality of opponent might not be there, but they've played probably the most, if not right up there with the most games, within many days to start the season.
Yeah, they were at the most. I think they led the league in back-to-backs at one point, and they were playing basically every other day. And like they hadn't had a practice since the season started. Wow. So these 3 days off, And I heard Kenny joking that he's going to go to Florida with so much time off. He's going to go, take some R&R in Florida.
It's funny. It felt like they were off forever because we were used to them playing so often.
Yeah.
The 3 days off felt like a long time off.
I always say this, man. Hey, listen, if I'm playing some 5-year-old, I'm taking that win. I don't care what. If you on the schedule, are
you running over that 5-year-old? You knocking him on his ass?
Move out of the way.
That was me during the Boys and Girls Club, man. I'll beat all the kids.
I'm celebrating. You can only play who you play, right? Look at the opposite end of the spectrum. If they would come out and struggle against these teams, we'd be pissed off. We say you playing down to your opponent. So congratulations for smoking them.
And if your schedule has to be loaded up at one point, you want it early in the year.
Yeah.
You don't want it. And I don't know what their April schedule.
All wins are created equal.
But if you have a ton of back-to-backs and playing every other day, you'd rather have that in October, November, than in April.
Yeah, no question.
Take them.
Yeah, shout out to the Cavs, man. That was a great win, 17-1. We get right back at it Wednesday against Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. We move on.